What is going on, guys? Madden 26. Now, this video, we are only looking at creative player. I don't think there's a lot changed. Wow, I already see a difference. I like this presentation right here. This is the PlayStation 5 version. This presentation is really, really cool, okay? I definitely like it. Let's go to appearance. We're gonna look at apparel and all that type of stuff. So he's a quarterback. Okay. He's got Cam Newton's number. Let me look at the heads. That's what I'm interested in. Okay, so these heads definitely look the same. I would imagine, I don't remember every head by heart, of course, but some of these heads do look familiar. That one definitely does. I would imagine they have the same heads on here. I don't know how many heads were in Madden 2025. I would have to go back and look to see if the number is higher than it was, but these faces look familiar. So as far as that is concerned, it's pretty much the same exact idea, the same concept, basically the same thing. Some of these faces I don't remember, but like I said, I don't remember them. I definitely saw that one because, I created some players in the game. So I recognize some of them. I don't recognize this one. My assumption is that they added some faces to the game. I'm not going to sit here and go through every single face one by one. That's not really necessary, but we'll just kind of skip through them a little bit, just to show you what's up here. A lot of these are definitely repeats, which is good. That's not a bad thing. I like the creative player presentation, and like, let me see what it shows when wait a minute, hold on. How do I change this position? I think I gotta go to bio probably, right? Let's see. What is LS? What if I'm making a wide receiver? Let's see what type of animation it shows. I guess it still shows the quarterback animation, even though I'm a wide receiver. I thought it would show like a wide receiver running the route or something, but oh well, whatever. It's all right, But I do like this presentation a little bit. It's funny how they gave me Cam's number, which, of course, he's not wearing that number now, and he's not on the team or whatever. But anyway, let's look at some of the different stuff. I will. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, how much can you change? You have your appearance. You have your. I was kind of hoping they would make it where you could select a head and then select hair or something like that, but they don't do that in this game. They just give you a head and you just take the hair that comes with the head. So to be honest, I do like the creative player. It looks very realistic. The character looks very real, but I wish you could like take this guy right here and like change his hairstyle or something like that. But I would rather have a game where you can select the face and then select the facial hair and hair, but they went with this. I think this makes the player look more real because I think these are probably real face scans of real people. Probably not NFL players, but just, I don't know who, but just, they definitely look like real people, like they're based on real people. But like I said, this is pretty much the same idea that you have. I did not mean to do that. Let's go back. But I mean, I didn't create anything, so it didn't matter. But as far as your ratings are concerned, all that stuff is pretty much the same thing, right? They're not really changing a whole lot. And create a player doesn't really change a whole lot in any game. You know, from year to year, it takes years before you have a completely different overhaul of create a player. So now we're going to take a look at apparel. Let's take a look at what they got here. See what type of updated helmets they got here. Let's take a look. And I'm not too familiar with all the latest, newest stuff, but I could tell this stuff is very futuristic. Some of the stuff, anyway. This definitely, I mean, look at that. They're constantly coming up with new stuff. And they're keeping the game updated when it comes to the gear and stuff like that. You can tell that a lot of this stuff is based on current times. But then again, you can create players if you want to, if it's in your wish. You could, well, actually, looks like they didn't even offer a whole lot of old styles. There's not a whole lot of helmet options, honestly. But there's probably a lot of face mask options. That's what I'm thinking. Now, the face masks in this game, they have to match the helmet you pick. So if you pick an old style helmet, you can have an old style face mask. Let me see if I can pick an old style helmet. Maybe this is an old style helmet. Let me see. It kind of has an old... It's not that old. The helmet, each helmet style has different face mask options. So you would have to pick an old helmet style in order to get old face mask styles. If that makes sense. And it does make sense, okay? Let's see if I can't find an old helmet style on here. Most of this stuff on here is going to be, that's not futuristic, I don't think. Let's see what they offer me here. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, actually, you know what? When I change the face mask, it completely changes the helmet type sometimes. There we go. Now we're talking. Now we're going back to the 60s and 50s right here. Probably 70s even. 60s and 70s, I would say, not 50s. 50s might be like the leather helmet era. So yeah, that's how it works. You know, sometimes you're gonna have old style options if you want to, for some reason, create older players and bring them back to life, like guys that are retired and put them in the game. But yeah, as you can see, they got the old style helmets, but that's nothing different than what you had in last year's version of the game. So, and like I said, you can't expect a whole lot of change here. You really can't, because how much are you going to change with create a player? You know, how much can you change? You know, in their defense, how much can you change, you know? Here we go with your shoulder pads. What is this here? Undershirt. All this stuff is probably the same with possibly some updates. I would imagine they would update something, but not everything, because some things, there's nothing to update. I mean, nothing has really changed in the NFL. Maybe in some areas, especially stuff like this. And I can't tell you what was in Madden 25 and what's in this and what's not in this. I can't really tell you that because I don't remember everything by heart. But it looks to me like most of this stuff was there. I don't recall seeing that. But I do like these options. I do like the way you customize your players in this game. And like I said, I was talking earlier today about the heads and the hair. I wanted a game where you could select hairstyles and faces, but kind of like you do in the yard, but it doesn't make a huge difference. I mean, they're wearing helmets anyway. It's not going to change the game too much if you have that. So I don't blame them for not having it. I'm not complaining about that. Obviously, the more options, the better. I mean, that's just the obvious, right? You would rather have more options and more flexibility with your customization. But, you know, wow, look at this. What is this? These are some Adidas. And I'm not the most sneaker savvy guy that knows every shoe by heart. I don't know what's what, but wait a minute. What the heck? He's got mismatched shoes. What is that, like a kicker or something? What the heck? Why is all the shoes mismatching? What is going on here? Why are they doing this? Oh, you select the right and left shoe? Man, come on with that. There needs to be like a shortcut to where you could create both shoes at the same time. Okay, here's your socks. Those shoes match. And don't get me wrong, that's kind of cool, I guess. I'm not gonna make a guy with mismatched shoes. Like, I know punters and stuff wear mismatched shoes. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna have a guy wearing Adidas on one foot and Nike on another. I don't know if you can do that in this, but so you got a Nike on one foot. Let's go to the other foot. This is weird, man. They just keep mismatching. I don't really like what they do with the shoes here. Okay, now finally he's got both of the same shoes. He's got the Jordan Retros on. Wait a minute, what? You got Under Armour, right? What about the left shoe? Is that Under Armour also? The right shoe is clearly Under Armour. I don't know what. I don't really like the way they do this. I don't know why you would even bother to make a guy with mismatched shoes. I think punters, or no, kickers are the only ones that wear mismatched shoes. Not punters, but kickers. So I don't even know why they even got this on here. But I wish they had an option to make them both the same, because now my guy's wearing mismatched shoes. His shoes don't match, right? Okay, whatever. It's okay. I'm not creating a guy that I'm going to save right now anyway. But we're just kind of looking at the creative player mode in the game. But like I said, it looks like the same creative player basically with obviously some changes. You're going to change something. You're going to update the, new stuff that just came out, like different shoes that may have just came out, new helmets for 2025. And some of this stuff may be upgraded, maybe not. Maybe there isn't new knee pads and leg pads that have came out recently. So you have that. Let's talk about attributes. Attributes are, everything looks the same here. You select your player ratings just like you would in any other Madden game. I mean, none of this stuff, not really a dramatic turnaround in this game. I think, I want to say since Madden 23 or 24 on the PS5 version, the next gen version, or I guess you might call it current gen now, but, the newest gen version hasn't really changed a whole lot, as you can see. And it doesn't need to. This is not a complaint. I mean, what more can you add to the game? I guess you can add more heads, and they may have done that. But I do understand that if you select a whole head as opposed to selecting a face with facial hair and skin tone and hairstyle and all that type of stuff, you might have a little bit of a less realistic look. But Me personally, I think they can definitely switch to that. I would love to have these same faces and all these same hairstyles, but being able to mix them up to kind of individualize your player. Because what if I want to create a player and I say, oh, this is the face I'm looking for, but I'm looking for a guy with dreads, or I'm looking for a guy that's bald, but I can't. I'm stuck with that haircut, you know? And like I said, it's not a big deal because, like I said, it's football. You're wearing a helmet anyway. It's actually okay. It's not something you would rant over or get mad about, but anyway, let's go to bio. Nothing has really changed here. Wow, birth year 1970. Wow. So you can create guys that match the helmets that are in this game. I think the helmets only go back to the 70s in this, if I'm not mistaken. But, and maybe that's why you can only go back to 1970, create an old style player. 2005, wow. You could really create some young people in this. I mean, that's 20 years old, so you can't create guys that are 18. As guys that are 18 never go to the NFL. Anyway, 20 might be as young as you'll ever see. Maybe. I don't know. I've never seen 19-year-olds playing in the NBA. I mean, in the NFL. I said NBA. But anyway, this is your creative player mode for Madden 26. Not a whole lot, not really too much different. I mean, they definitely updated the gear and stuff to fall in line with, you know, today's NFL. But it looks good, you know. I'm not irritated or unhappy with the lack of change. There's not a whole much you need to change. I talked about the hair and faces and stuff that I would like to see it more like the Yard, you know, when Yard was in Madden. I think it was Madden 24 and Madden 23 when the Yard was in there. You know, that was pretty cool, the way they had to create a player. You select the hair, the face, all that. That would be more personnel based. Like, you could really go deeper into your creative player's physical features if you had that, but you don't have it. And it's actually okay. The creative player mode is definitely good enough in this game.